Hello again, everyone. I'm Bethany Cheshire, and I work with the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. Have you ever wondered what is hiding in the areas of the museum where we store our collection? We have a lot of things that we care for in order to preserve some of our history and learn about our world. One of the types of objects that our collections managers take care of is called archives. These are historical documents. One of our collections managers allowed me to look at some really interesting documents from the Civil War era, which is 1861 to 1865. That means that these pieces of paper have survived for over 150 years, and I'm going to show you one today. This is a letter that belonged to Dr. J.R. McFadden, General Surgeon for the Confederacy during the Civil War. Here's what the letter reads. Major General Cleburne's Division, April 25, 1864. General Orders Number 8. Each brigade commander will select a gen med surgeon who shall be placed in charge of the ambulances of their respective brigades. Lieutenant W. D. Patton, ACS Lowry's brigade, has been selected to supply the wounded and sick of this division with ration steering and proceeding in action. As soon as an engagement shall commence, Lieutenant Patton will report to Chief Surgeon of Division for instructions. By command of Major General Cleburne, signed J.A. Buck and Official Williams and J.R. McFadden, General Surgeon. There are so many questions that we can ask ourselves from this letter. Who are J.R. McFadden and General Cleburne? What did a surgeon do during the Civil War? And what did an ambulance look like during the Civil War? Dr. McFadden was born in Chester County, South Carolina on March 3, 1835. He graduated with his MD from the University of South Carolina and married Mary Gibbons. Dr. McFadden served as a surgeon in the Confederate Army, holding the rank of Brigadier General while his wife stayed with family in Arkansas. After the war, he moved his family to Milford, Texas, where he continued to practice medicine and was well known in the community. We learn at the very beginning of the letter that Dr. McFadden worked under command of Major General Patrick Cleburne. General Cleburne was born in County Cork, Ireland on March 16, 1828. He was nicknamed the Stonewall of the West. When he failed his entrance exam to Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland, he decided to enlist in the British Army. In 1849, he purchased his discharge and moved to America, eventually settling in Helen, Arkansas. He joined the Yale Rifles and joined the Confederacy to fight in the Civil War. His first major battle was at Shiloh, April 6, 1862. He was eventually promoted to Major General in December of 1862. General Cleburne is known for making a very controversial decision at the time. He wanted to arm slaves to fight in the Confederate Army, and in time, those slaves would receive their freedom. The proposal was not well received and was eventually suppressed. General Cleburne would not make it through the war. Just 7 months after Dr. McFadden's letter, General Cleburne was one of 6 generals who was killed during the Battle of Franklin on November 30, 1864. Cleburne, Texas is named for him. We learn in the letter that General McFadden was a surgeon during the Civil War. General surgeons had many jobs. Primarily, they cared for and treated the wounded men, often from both armies. This included first aid, surgical procedures, amputations, and organizing the transportation of the wounded to general hospitals. They had other miscellaneous duties as well, such as organizing, equipping, and supplying hospitals. They had to keep a system of records, and they were in charge of everyday management of hospitals and first aid stations. Surgeons did have some privileges as medical staff. They were not allowed to be prisoners for the majority of the war. One of Dr. McFadden's responsibilities, we learn, is that he had to manage the ambulances during the war. The first paragraph of his letter mentions that a surgeon will be placed in charge of the ambulances. The Civil War can be seen as a turning point for a lot of modern medicines. One of these developments was the ambulance. The concept of the ambulance grew out of a need to transport wounded soldiers from the battlefield. In the 500 CE, the Byzantine Empire had a rescue squad of horsemen, with special saddles that allowed them to carry wounded men to field hospitals. In the 11th century, Crusaders used wagons staffed with nurses, and by the early 1700s, European cities were using corps of volunteers to carry injured civilians by foot using stretchers. Today, an ambulance is a means to just stabilize an injured passenger and transport them to a hospital. During the Civil War, an ambulance was a horse-drawn wagon that carried a full-time ambulance staff, including a surgeon, and after basic treatment was given, ambulances would carry the patient to the field hospitals and then later move them to the general hospitals. We can learn so much from documents like this one. Documents like the McFadden letter are just one of the types of archives that the Fort Worth Museum of Science and Histories care for. We preserve these and other documents as a way to look back on our past and learn from it. What are some things that you might keep to help teach future generations about your history? Thank you so much for joining me and taking a peek at our archive collection. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for other history and science videos. And if you have an idea for our next video, leave it in the comments below or email us at questions@fwmsh.org. See you next time.